And yeah, uh,
They
L'Oreal played a
actually do.
pretty good role, pretty
Uh,
good game, and people will be watching. Pretty much like Osasuna, to be honest. But obviously, different teams, different sensations. But yeah, Tom, let's start with how you feel.
uh, how do I feel? Well, as you would expect. But the thing is about this game. See, after Osasuna, I was like, okay, fine. We rotated heavily. This was bound to happen. Fine. Forget about it. After Monaco, I was like, okay, red card. Again, external circumstances. Doesn't really reflect our quality or anything like that. This game, however, I think this was the first time that Flick, number one, got it wrong from the get
And
off.
did not have an
And
answer.
then his answer, well, yeah, and his answer was not the right one. So I think this is 90% on us, but then also people are gonna say, okay, the dubious penalty call, no, the offside call, absolutely valid. I think there is a lot in that
It's a
because it's,
1-1, I would say.
yeah, it's a lot, it's a big psychological hit, right? I think up until that point, okay, we were doing fine,
Hmm.
but after that offside call, the crowd got wild. Sociedad got really grew
Energy,
into the game. Yeah, they got energy.
energy.
And from there, it was just downhill. And our reaction to all of that was very poor.
Yeah.
You can make excuses because there are some. You can make say this, say that. However, this was a bad reaction from us. That's the first thing that we have to say about this game,
Okay,
unfortunately.
so we'll obviously talk about it, but let's talk about positives.
Yeah,
Then
let's do that.
because there's so much of negative, and we generally go directly into the negative. So that's let's try and avoid that. The positive is that it's okay to lose one at this juncture
Mm,
of the league, with the situation we are in, with the buffer that we have, and with what we have in, in front of us. So I think there's enough of league to be played, and for us to lose this time, it's probably not as bad as it would seem. Also, La Real, Anoeta away is always difficult. Yes, we have been winning the last few years, but you and I will know, for the like that period of time for
mm,
10 years with Messi, when we never won at Anoeta, right? And Animal is a good coach, and this team is a kick-ass team. So yeah,
mhm.
they really showed you, like, that's a team. It's not a individual players or what have you. That's a team who knows how to play football, and Iman's a great coach. So I think from that perspective, we shouldn't take it so hard. It's fine. It should have been a 1-1. It lost 1-0. It's okay, and it won't possibly impact us or hamper us so much. Um, so that was one positive. The second positive was, I don't know. Was there any other positive? I think mm,
Uh,
I
it's
don't
it's
know. Did
difficult.
you see any other positive?
Well, the thing about this game is, it's. I don't think we should look at the game and say, okay, suddenly flick ball doesn't work anymore, or
No.
suddenly all of this will fall apart. It won't. However, I think the flick ball is very taxing overall, and you could see that it was very taxing because by the end of the game, nothing was really going in our favor anymore. Even the simplest basic things like, pass weight, pass selection, decision making, controlling the ball, I don't know, just weighing your crosses into the box, nothing was coming off anymore. And when those quote unquote simple things or basic things don't come off anymore with players at such a high level who have been playing at a high level for a number of weeks and months, that means something's off about them. I think it's the physical part, but also the psychological hit that we talked about earlier. But I think flick ball being so taxing, it just
Catching
shows
up.
you, okay, yeah, it's catching up a bit, and it shows you, okay, these players, they do bleed, right? Oh, I'm so dark. I'm so annoyed about this. I'm so dark in this video. I'm sorry, guys. I've been moving stuff around my house. We've been doing some redecorating around the house. I had to move my usual spot of recording, and now the light is not no longer shining towards me. It's shining different. I don't know. I have to figure this out. But yeah. Anyway, so the positive is, this does not mean the whole system and the whole team will fall apart. Hopefully not. I don't think it should. However, it shows you that this was kind of common in a certain sense, but at the same time, we our reaction, the fans' reaction, is what matters now. How do we react to these losses? Because we've been so supportive, we've been carrying the team on the stands from our sofa, so on and so forth. But now that they actually struggle and they lose, not because of some external circumstances, but because we were just not good enough. Now is the time for us to actually be the fans that we're meant to be, so to speak.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. The reaction will matter, and I think Flick will obviously realize that at every juncture, L'Oreal had a better plan than us at
Yeah.
every juncture, right? Right from the setup to the press to after the halfway period, and then when he got the subs in and the role that he gave the subs, I don't think they were trying to win the game after 1-0, but they knew
Mhm.
that they could not contain Barcelona by just stuffing with defenders or being defensive. So they put players, they put the long balls behind the line, and they had a winger to run in, and they just ran down the clock. I think between 60 and 80 minutes, for 20 minutes, Barcelona was just chasing balls in their own half, which were long balls being fed from La Real midfield. And it was totally tactical. And
Mhm.
because they didn't have the ball, they couldn't do anything, literally,
Mhm.
for most of the
Mhm.
game. So there was so much to learn from that, like just from the tactical aspect of it, because you would feel that at the time that Emmanuel took them on off, and they were good players like Orzabal, he took off. He took off
Mhm.
Becker, he took off some really good players, and it was like, yeah, but he had a plan and he stuck to that plan. And they were going for that 1-0, but traditionally a 1-0 will be, you go into a low block, or like a lines of
Mhm.
5 and 4, but that's not what L'Oreal did. They did not do that. They played their game. They knew that would not work with the Barca.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I found that really good from Emmanuel, from that perspective. Kubo was awesome.
Yeah.
His positioning. And it's a strange thing about Kubo. There are these players, Kubo, Brian Zaragoza, then Barry Aspas. I mean, they become so good against Barcelona in any game that they play. It's insane.
Mhm. Mhm.
They may not be that effective in the rest of the league or what have you, but against Barcelona,
Mhm.
they become insane. Today he was just outstanding. Bryce Mendes, outstanding. Zubimendi, outstanding. Ilustrando at the last for that cameo he played for as at the right back, outstanding. uh Fomin had a bad game. Kunde had a terrible game. Yeah, I think overall things just didn't work out. Like the passes did not come through, the crosses did not go in. uh, all in all, I think once we started losing the confidence, I think the team kind of lost the game by the 60-minute mark
Mhm. Mhm.
mentally.
Yeah, mentally that was a huge hit, and yes, that plays a huge part in how you actually execute those actions. But there's a lot of discuss here that you mentioned actually, Dev. So let's try and tackle that, because yes, Kunde was poor, Fermin was poor. We had Frankie in the game from minute one, which wasn't. I felt like, so. See, I don't think Frankie was the big issue today,
No, he wasn't.
um, because he was the
They
right.
neutralized him. Like
Yeah,
Larakel neutralized
he
everything that we do. So
he was the right kind of player for for this type of game. I felt like, and I think that he needed to stay on even, but Barca just didn't play through him or Casado as much as they should have. So see, in possession, if you have Casado and Frankie at your base in possession, so double pivot in the build-up first phase, you're trying to get out of Real's press, and we know that Real will press us aggressive because they have. I think it's the most aggressive press in Europe or something like
yeah,
that. So they are
insane press. They kept
near,
running
yeah,
till the
yeah,
95th minute,
yeah.
man. That was insane.
They are near the top in the statistics at least. And you knew this coming into the game. So the right choice was to start Frankie and Castro because you expect the high press. But then you need to organize more around the ball. What this means is that you have the tools to escape that press in your first phase, not your second and the third phase, which we kept looking for. Pena is not a good distributor of the ball. He is decent for the easier
He could
passes,
not play
quote
out at
unquote,
all from the back.
but he can, yeah, but you cannot really play out of a of an elite press like Sociedad's with Peña's distribution and hoping that he will somehow find the solution for you on the ball. He won't, right? And that first goal, that goal that we conceded, that was everything falling into place for La Real and nothing falling into place for us. Or rather, we did not play to any of our strengths. First of all, we tried to go along with Peña, ignoring the ball handlers, so Casado and Frankie, which should have been the first thing to do. Then we put Casado into an aerial duo. I don't know who it was. It was someone who was obviously bigger and better aerially than Casado, so we lost that duo. Then we had a second run from the deep from Becker, who
He
used
was
that,
outstanding.
and he was outstanding. Yeah, he was,
Beckham
and
was
he turned that.
outstanding.
Yeah,
He
and
made
that
Kunde's life miserable.
he did, and it was not really possible to catch him offside because he did not start his run on the offside line. He started deeper, so he
Deep.
had that. He had that dynamic advantage, right? He had that speed already built up by the time he reached the line, so it was impossible for Kunde to catch him anyway. So everything that could go wrong, everything that's not Barca's strength was shown in that one sequence that resulted in the goal. So I feel like in that sense, Barca did not play to their strengths at all tonight. And you could say that, this was the root cause of our downfall last season. And this was the main thing that Flick has been fixing so far and has been doing successfully.
But
But
don't you
tonight,
think, Dom, I
yeah,
have a question for you. Don't you
yeah,
think, and this is tactical, so you're a better person to answer this, but somewhere I felt today, after that 45th, 50th minute mark, when he could realize that the game is not going anywhere, it's just out of control completely, I
yeah.
felt we need a little bit of Xavi ball instead of Flick ball to get things in control and just, have a semblance of authority, because it was just chaos. I genuinely
But
feel that. With Xavi, like we did not have the incisiveness, but we had always got ball possession and ball control, and we could always go till the final third, and then we lost our way and could do nothing ever. Uh, but I think today that was missing badly. Like the defense to the midfield orchestration was just not there. We could not play out from the back. L'Oreal just plastic killed us on the press at all. We hardly ever had control of the ball throughout the game, and that cost us massively.
Yes, I think I don't think Xavi Ball would help. This was Xavi Ball. This was what Xavi Ball would be, right? Because Xavi Ball was verticality for the sake of verticality, and it was just hoping to outgun the opposition in that tennis match. And as soon as the win condition for Barca became winning the tennis match, that meant Real Sociedad had a better foundation to build upon, right? Because our foundation was with Frankie and Casado, especially in that game, get the ball, control that chaos. As you said, there was too much chaos, yes, but we tried to respond with chaos with chaos. So we would not play into our strengths. So I don't think in this sense that more chaos was needed to actually beat La Real. It's always going to be play to what we are comfortable with. Now, once we got Olmo on the pitch, you get that one magician profile on the pitch that we lack without Lamine. Yes, you have to start Olmo because you don't have a magician on the pitch. I agree with Van Lee in that sense. With Lamine, it's not that they just lose a 1-versus-1 player. You don't have anyone on the team who can actually replace that player profile-wise, let alone quality-wise. Quality-wise, absolutely. There's no player on this team that can do what Lamine does, but we don't have a profile of that kind of mimics what Lamine does. So when there's no Lamine, there's actually no plan B for that position. It just changes the whole perspective, the whole what am I looking for? I'm looking for a word. The whole outlook of the team, because there's no replacement for him, not just quality wise, but profile wise. That's the issue with no Lamine in this team. But yeah, it needs to happen because Lamine obviously needs to
But I
get
don't
some
know.
rest.
Like
Yeah.
I think, Vandy, to your point, I know, and everybody would say, we should have started Olmo, and you're right. But Olmo did play about 40 minutes and didn't really do much, to be honest, today.
Mm.
I'm not like criticizing or anything, but the fact is, I mean, we just didn't have a game plan. Like the what he does very well, which is between the lines. They had just choked up the lines in between. We could not get a single ball through the lines to be played. Lewandowski was stopped. Um, Rafinha was
Yeah.
completely shadowed by Armburu, and and Olmo could not do anything. So I don't know whether like that would it have made that much of a difference? I think to your point, Flick did get outcoached completely. One is like all in, he got outcoached today, 100%. But I think
Mm,
there was fundamental, like to beat this, they had to have a different game plan. When they saw this is how L'Oreal was playing, I think they had a game plan and they stuck to it. And we did not have a plan B. We just had plan A, and when the plan A did not work, we did not know what to do. And that's
mhm.
basically what happened. I personally don't think almost starting would have made that much of a difference. Anyway, but Dom, you're up. Yeah, love your point
Uh,
of view.
it's difficult. Yeah. On paper, yes, I think it would make a difference, but now how much or enough, I don't know, right? Because Barca still didn't play to what they were supposed to. Even if you have Olmo on the pitch, okay, you have to play between the lines, as you said. That's where he is the most dangerous. You have to find Olmo in those situations. And to be fair, we did have a slightly better transitional prowess because Olmo can receive on the half term, so he just needs the one touch to create a separation and then keep moving forward. That's what he did a couple of times. But we still couldn't find him in any of the settled phases. We couldn't find him in any of the advanced areas of the pitch. We couldn't find Olmo in the positions that Olmo needs to be. So if you have, even if you have Olmo there on the pitch, but you can't find him, you can't create the environment for him, it won't do much work, much good. To your point, Dev. So yes, I think
Because when the like
if
he was trying those crosses, he was trying it was all like misplaced. Like when he was
yeah,
not in that zone of 14 or inside the penalty box, like
yeah,
he doesn't have the same bite. So he couldn't like there was a lot of errors that happened. Even though he played about 40-45 minutes
yeah,
in the game.
he did. And then you have Fermin, Rafinha, and Lewandowski, and Fermin on the right just wasn't it. He just he can't do what Lamine does. Obviously, he should not be asked to do that. He cannot do that. But then the whole complexity of the team was different with Fermin there not doing much. Koundé was lost without Lamine because he didn't have that someone with enough gravity ahead of him. Because
Pull.
if Koundé yeah, if Koundé is to be a successful final third player, someone who can overlap, someone who can deploy passes, we saw against Crvena Zvezda perfectly because Lamine grabs players. He has the gravity. He creates the space for Koundé, and Koundé creates the space for Lamine.
To
It works
overlap,
that
to
way,
run,
right?
to make those
Yeah,
runs. Yeah.
yeah. And then if you do give Koundé the space and time, he will absolutely find people in the box. He can do that. He know that he can do that. But now with Fermin, he didn't have a player ahead of him who can actually bind the center backs, bind the fullbacks, drag the fullbacks,
Yeah.
have enough gravity, and Koundé could not operate in those roles. He could not be the wide threat, one versus one threat, which he was actually asked a lot of times. I saw Koundé, there was no way out for him. And the only thing that he could do in those situations was dribble forward. And that's never how you get most out of Koundé. He cannot dribble 2, 3 players like Lamine can, right? Another confirming. And then you have Rafinha and Lewandowski. Lewandowski, okay, he needs service, and he did not have the service without Lamine, of course not. But Rafinha, it looks half the play without Lamine because Rafinha is not the type of player who will create something out of nothing when the
He
team
needs
can't get going.
creators.
He needs to be able to get the best out of his parallel runs, about his from his poaching abilities, all of those things that made Rafinha so effective this whole season. He couldn't use that at all because we just didn't have the player to unlock Rafinha at all. That's when you look in this game state, when you don't have solutions, is when you look to a player, a Messi, a Lamine, a Rafa Leao to solve something for you, to give you a solution out of nothing, out of thin air. We didn't have that player tonight, and we didn't have a plan as a collective to break down La Real either. And that's why this result, with that offside call aside, was actually quite right.
Yeah, I would say it
Unfortunately,
was right because we just didn't
yeah,
have a game plan from like the first
hmm,
minute. I mean, you could see
yeah,
it that they were ready for us. Emmanuel had a game plan; he stuck to it, and till as you said, till the first goal, we were in the game. And the
yeah,
moment that call did not go our way, we just disintegrated completely and then
yeah,
never came back. But the good thing about it is that I do also feel that this team has a little bit overperformed a little bit,
yeah,
and what we expected massively. Like in the beginning of the season, if somebody had said that we would be here on match day 11 with the points that we have, I wouldn't have believed them. And losing to L'Oreal at Anoeta is like really awesome teams have lost. So it's okay. It's not so bad. But what it will probably do is also open the eyes of people like Deco and Laporta. Hopefully, that this team, while it has punched above its weight, it still does need other players, difference makers, other difference makers. You cannot depend on one Lamine,
Yeah.
who is 17 years old, to always bail out of trouble. First of all, he shouldn't be playing this much. So if you've got to nurture him, build him, and so on and so forth, you need a proven difference maker to come in.
Yeah.
You definitely need another winger for sure. We have been papering over these cracks, and probably even somebody in midfield and the right back that we have been talking about. So there are positions that need players and professional players, and hopefully this forces the board to think on how to make that some of that happen during the winter window. We will still not be 1:1, but depending on how we are and where we are, if some deals are possible, could that be done in some way? We don't know, but I think
Hmm.
it just makes it imperative, because Laporta and Deco, they know they have a golden opportunity to win the league with the start that they have got. They really do. And they'll understand where the gaps in the team are. And then there's a gap. And today we understood that gap, right? Very clearly. So if they can use this and use the window to bring some of that reinforcement, this loss might be a blessing in disguise, because otherwise we were all like, oh, this is it, this is the best team in the world and we'll win everything, which was what our not
Yeah.
normal behavior was till last week. But we saw today that there are gaps, massive gaps, and we'll always not be lucky.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. It's difficult to suggest any flaws, or to suggest any additions to the team when they are winning so much, because everyone was saying, okay, we have Rafinha, we don't need anyone else. But see, in this game state, when the things are not going well, then you see that the team still has some limitations, and it's absolutely fine. We're not here to tell you, oh, Barca are rubbish all of a sudden. They're not. But this team is just not, it's not complete yet. It's not meant to be complete at this point either. I mean, Flick has only been here for a couple of months. This is a young team, and this is only our third loss of the season, second in La Liga, and the first one that we actually deservedly lost, I
Yeah,
would say. So when you look at it this way, it's fine. There's no need to panic. Number one. Number two, these things should be expected, and this, I mean,
you learn
it's
from
fair.
them.
You learn from it. Absolutely, you have to. That's the key. You have to learn from that. But also, I don't want to sound again negative or anything like that. But I don't think this will be the last loss of the season either. So
No,
we have to get ready for that. It can't. It would be impossible, right? There's so many games to be
not with
played.
this team, you'll
Yeah,
lose again for sure.
yeah. You will lose again, because that's also how we play. We play in the way that we actually do expose ourselves. That actually we say to the team, okay, come at us, try, because we will bite you back. Tonight, La Real bit us back and deservedly took the points, right? So I think when you look at it that
They
way,
totally
this
deserve it.
loss, yeah, it will be painful, and we are sad. Of course, we are. We dropped points, but at the same time, it's
It
not
was the
the end of the
best
world.
time to lose. I would still say it was a very good time
Mm,
to lose, given
yeah, again,
where we are. It was a very good location to lose. Yes, the Flick's tactical choices raise questions on why and what and so on and so forth. So that's sure.
mm,
And yes,
hmm,
to the point of Barca fans, the discourse, yeah, we're tactical or whatever, but we're just talking, we're chatting, guys. All of us, there's not much tactics that we're discussing. And your point is right, that if that goal had stood, anything could have happened, because it's all about
yeah,
momentum, right? And Barca was in momentum at that moment. You score one goal, you're up, your energy is up,
absolutely.
confidence is up, and
Hmm.
that's it, right? You're on the offensive. The moment that went down and there was anger and frustration and what have you, and L'Oreal took that initiative and suddenly scored a goal, and then you're like two down. It's not like 1-0, but you're like 2-0, right? So those things happen, and yes, it just did not work out for us today at all, right?
Yep,
And then
yep.
this happens, like those who of us, we remember that Coman game when we won 6-1 at against
I
Sociedad.
know
I
it.
think you all
Yeah,
remember,
yeah.
right, that game. I was like magic. I mean, what am I seeing? Right? Seldom have I seen Barca play like that at Anoet, and that was Coman, right? So
Mhm.
these happen. Days happen. Bad days happen. Things don't work out, or what have you. So I don't think we need to make more of that. But Flick needs to think about, this is the second time that he has been forced to rotate, and he will be forced to rotate, and we haven't had the answers. We
Mhm,
just haven't had the
mhm.
answers,
Yeah.
and that is something that Flick needs to think about.
Yeah, this is what we've been saying there for the longest time now. We do have, so when everyone is fit, well, this current team is fit. Like we have the quality, absolutely. Lamine in the team, completely different team. Olmo fit, completely different team. All of that is true, but we don't have the quantity. We don't have the depth. So as soon as you move those players, especially Lamine, I can see a lot of comments, guys, on dependency of Lamine. Yes, we are dependent on him because he is a one of a kind, right? That's the problem with Lamine. It would be a different thing if we actually had a creator magician type to replace Lamine. It doesn't have to be the same quality as Lamine. It has to be the same profile for the system to remain intact. Because without Lamine, it all changes, right? And once it all changes, you lose the balance, the perfect balance that we had in the front line. You lose a lot of that, right? And you lose the potency of the other forward players as well. And then you have Furman, who's played out of position. Let's just put it that way, because that was
He's
not
just
his
too
position,
young.
right?
He can't
Yeah,
manage that. He just
yeah.
can't
So
manage that.
Furman is
He can
either a
only play that
10.
central, behind
Yeah,
the line.
yeah. Either a 10 or a left wing. That's where you put Fermin Lopez. That's where he needs to operate. So, and if, when you put Fermin on the right, okay, fair enough. You want to have Rafinha in the position that he's been most effective in, but without Lamine, you can't have the same Rafinha anyway. So why would you have a no player with Fermin on the right, and then you have half the player of the usual
Yeah,
Rafinha on the
hundred
left?
percent.
It didn't
It
make
was
sense.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
It was
it didn't make
absolutely.
sense. But yeah, then again, you don't have Lamine. Olmo might not be fully fit, so Flick had to do something, and he went with this. Okay, fair enough. But then his reaction at halftime also wasn't the correct one, I don't think. So that was two strikes from Flick, and then that's how you eventually lose the game. And it just happened.
Yep.
Uh,
To your point, yes, Nilesh, we already said it. We don't think it's Frankie's fault.
yeah,
We struggled today. As simple as that. We got outcoached. We got struggled. Does Frankie have issues? Yes, he does. Has he fit with this flick system? No, he hasn't. And those are all valid points. But is today's loss on Frankie? No, probably not. It isn't. It would be wrong to single him out from that perspective.
mm.
And Andre, to your point, it's never okay to lose a game. I didn't mean it from that perspective, right? But my thing was that we will lose games, right? Given where we are between the points and the gap that we have right now, and the schedule of games in front of us, and
Yeah.
the location we went to play, maybe not the worst outcome, maybe, but
Mhm,
it's always
mhm.
bad to lose a game. We would love to win all the games, right?
There we
So
go.
sorry, that's not what I meant. um, all right, so Shobnil, you have said FDJ does not feel like a flick system player. He will shine under someone like Xavi. Fati, as much as I like him, is not at the level to play in the first 11 right now. Fati probably is not. Probably Fati does not even need to be in the team anymore. Unfortunate,
Yeah,
but that's really. I think somebody else made a point about Ferran Fati and these players, and I think I do think it's we I don't think we'll be seeing them for a very long time. Deco's pretty direct. I think they're looking for solutions and so on. Good
yeah.
thing, Vitor Roque is playing pretty well. I think like the goals are coming and so on. So we'll see how that goes for the rest of the season and whether he can
Mhm.
be somebody that you can count on. But for sure, Fati right now is not contributing much, even when he's getting the chances. So that's number one. And regarding FDJ, I don't know. He was good in the Madrid game, but again, he's limited, and we have seen that it was limited with Xavi too. He was limited
Yeah.
before Xavi. He was limited before that. From 2018 till now, he has been limited, not because he's not a great player. He's just not the profile that Barca need for the way Barca play. As simple as that. So, yeah. I mean, but Dom, what do you want to add?
Okay, let's start with Frankie. I'll be quick because we've been talking about Frankie a lot every week, and I think we could continue talking about Frankie because until he eventually either leaves or renews, something happens. I think at the moment, in his current state, in his current form, in his current whatever you want to call it, Frankie is more of a game state type of player, and that's a problem. That's a problem because of the wages that he's on, of the hype that he has, of the spotlight that he's under. All of that plays against him if he's a game state player. Game state player, that means that he only operates or works best in certain situations. For example, the this game tonight, I felt was perfect for Frankie because number one, a high pressing team that will come at you, and you need Frankie's press resistance because he can still do that. Good. A chaotic game that Frankie can calm down and establish his rhythm. Fine. Check number two. And third thing is, as good as the press was from Real Sociedad, they do leave gaps down the
Yep.
middle.
Yep.
And Frankie is
And
the
run.
perfect player to actually make use of that. So this was the game. I tweeted this out earlier. This was the game for Frankie to actually take as his own and stamp his authority because it's the game state that he likes. And if he can't be as influential as we need him to be in the games that's favored to him, then we have a problem again. But just the fact that he is only a game state player is a big enough problem as it is, because you can't have a player that's so expensive, that's so big, a big name, you can't have him on the bench and only use him in certain situations that may arise at one point or another in the season. You can't have that, right? He needs to be a player. So a player of his caliber, potential, talent, quality, everything, even money, so of his price tag, that kind of player needs to be a player for every game state. He needs to be a player for you play in every game, right? The biggest games, the smallest games, you can play him and he'll be effective. That's what Frankie needs to be if he's going to be a Barca player. If he can't be that, then it's not worth having him around. And I say this as probably one of the very few Frankie fans still left on this platform of this Barca timeline. I still am a Frankie fan because I still see a player in there.
He's a
But
good
what do I know?
player.
Yeah,
No,
I
he's
know,
a
I
good
know, I
player.
know. He is. Yeah. But he can't be a moment or a game state player for Barca. He can't be that. He needs to be. He needs to be more than that. He can be, but at the moment he's not showing that. And he was okay. He was good in the first opening 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then he was fouled a couple of times harshly to add. And
And
then
then he
after
lost.
that, he was
Was
so
shaky.
timid. He
He was
wasn't
shaky.
running anymore. He was kind of subdued to a certain point. And when a player of Frankie's profile plays timidly, you can sense it immediately. It's a huge
Yeah.
drawback on his profile. So that's what I think about him. On Fati, I think Dev, you said it all. I don't think it just goes to show you, we don't have Ferran, you don't have Lamine, you don't have who else?
We don't
Pau
have the
Victor,
subs,
right?
as
So
Arsenal has said.
yes. There's so many players that are not there available, and yet Fati doesn't get a chance. Even when there's no one, Fati doesn't get a chance, doesn't get a nod from the first minute, and that is it's
And even
too
does he
telling,
when he
right?
does, he's not doing much. Like
Yeah,
this is not the
when
first time. He
when
has been getting chances under Flick. It's
Yeah,
just that
but
nothing.
now when see what not bothers me. What tells me that Flick doesn't see Fati as a difference maker is when Barca are chasing a result, they need something to happen. He won't call Fati.
Won't
He
call him.
won't. He would
And
rather put
rightfully,
yeah
he's
yeah
I wouldn't call party. I don't think you will call party. I
yeah
mean,
probably not.
so at this moment, unfortunately, he's not in that state. And yes, we do not have decent subs for the front three. You're absolutely right. Problem because we don't have the money for the subs. Second, it's not just the money. You also need to find the right profiles and so on. So, who can play in this manner? And but hopefully we'll work it out. It won't happen this winter, but hopefully by the next season, when we are probably back to 1:1, we can make some signings, and that will probably help. And we do need that. We absolutely do need that, because this is, and we have said this often, this is short. This team is short in cover. I think Araujo and Christensen coming back will be really good. I think Gavi going back to fitness will be really good, but these are all going to take time. But even with that, our front line does not have subs to take on. All right, so somebody, and we'll keep on going through all the way. Lots of comments. This team also needs another. Yes, we do need a difference maker. One Lamine is not enough, 100%, and we need a Leao. If we can get Leao, nothing like it. And we've been talking about Leao a lot. Don's been talking about Leao. So yeah, Leao would be amazing. Just don't know we have the money right now at this moment. Maybe next year, but for sure in the winter transfer window we won't have the money.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect a Leao type signing or any signing probably in the winter transfer window. I don't think if anyone comes, it will be something of a gap filler type of player because we don't have any more money to buy someone different than that. But yes, lots of comments on those people, and let me just see. Yeah, Leon Kennedy. We're not signaling out Fati and De Jong. We're not. This was a collective issue. If anything, we said at the beginning of the stream it's not De Jong's fault. It's not one player's fault. It was the system that it just didn't work. We didn't have an answer for L'Oreal. We didn't have the solutions even when we recognized that our plan A was faulty. So yeah, we're not signaling anyone out. It's just one of those games where we got outplayed, I think.
Okay, Frankie de Jong seems to have half and half on the contract talks. So yeah, it doesn't help, and the contract talks will remain forever. It's just part of those things. And yes, probably he is half in and half out. And probably if he is out, it's good for him to go. Like he's tried. He's done his thing. He's tried his best. I don't think it will become better than this. So if he gets a good opportunity, he can become a great player in another team, and he should because he's a great player. He's not enjoying himself, and we are as fans are not happy. So it's just one of those things. So yeah, it'll be good for him to. Okay, Nico Williams. Yeah, Nico Williams can still be needed. He can be good, but we can't have Nico or Leao. And there is a debate on Nico and Leao. Tom, what's your point? What's your take?
Yeah, Nico and Leao. Yes, Nico also is that kind of player, sort of not at the same level maybe as Leao, but he is that someone who can flip a game potentially. He's someone that you can look to when you don't have solutions. I think that's where those players shine the most, right? Like Lamine as well, because even if we don't have a game plan that's working, Lamine will figure something out on his own, right? That's what Messi used to do so many games. He used to bail Barca out whenever we struggled. We just pass it to Messi. Messi will do something with the
Something.
ball, right? Yeah, something. No one would expect it to do something, and suddenly you're winning. And as you said, Dev, at the beginning of the stream, that one goal that got disallowed. So see, when Barca score a goal this season, and once they smell blood, that's when we get goals.
So they're a very
And
momentum side now. Very
we
momentum.
are, we are, and we get carried by that momentum so much. And the goals that we scored this season, they've also been timed so well, right? Just before halftime, just after halftime, just after conceding or something like that. So those moments, and there's been a lot of research behind that, is that there are certain moments in the game that when you score, they have more impact than if they were scored in different minutes of the game, right? And we were so clinical in the best times, right? Best timing if possible. And today it just didn't work, right? And
Yeah, and,
then
and guys, just be mindful. Like we've been scoring 4 goals, 5 goals every game. We have been outscoring our XG, but comfortably, like comfortably. We have been scoring 4 goals on an XG of 1.8. Honestly, it doesn't always happen. So we have punched up above our weight. Today we got caught out. It's fine. Things happen, and like finishing matters. Like we all were happy when we defeated Madrid with 4 goals. But if you remember that hat trick by Rafinha, I doubt he will be able to score those goals again in the way he did.
mm,
Like it's
mm,
insane the finishing that he had that night. So these things happen, and another day that goal stands, and then the moment you get that opportunity and you get that confidence, you go in and anything can happen, right? So we got caught out, and that's okay. But the main concern, as most of you have talked about, is that Flick's strategy was wrong, and
mm.
even you can start wrong, but he couldn't even fix it. By the time he tried something to fix, it didn't work at all. Emmanuel had better strategy to counter that, and I would say he got found out twice. Once in the main setup of the game, and then Emmanuel,
Yeah.
those 4 subs in twice. We got caught out, and
Mm.
they had a very clear game plan, and they executed it to perfection.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm seeing comments that no, it's not Flick, it's the players, and a lot of blame. I don't want to say blame, but a lot of it is on the players and the execution. But I think it was just tiredness to a certain extent because when you don't do the basics well, then something physically is not right or mentally even. So it's not that these players have suddenly become much worse than they normally are. It's just that this is the whole system, the whole flick ball is catching up to us in certain circumstances as well. So I think it's not just one side that's a fault. It's a lot of things, moving pieces. It is the system. I think first and foremost, it is still a system, but also the execution of those individuals within the system was also not at the usual level, and that's true.
That affected
That
us. And yes, the team performance was nowhere there, Leon. You're absolutely right. And it is not on Fati or De Jong or Kunde or Rafinha or Olmo. Like we all were bad, or like
yeah,
quite bad today. So it just didn't work out, and that's it's what it is. The question is, what do we do about it?
yeah.
Because teams will be watching, and this is not the only team in La Liga who can press and who can run.
Mhm,
A lot of the mid-table teams can do this, not as well as La Real, but they will learn from this. Bayern also wanted to have a dummy runner. They couldn't get away with it, right?
mhm,
La Real got away. They perfected that. They saw that game. They perfected the dummy runner, and it worked for them. So there will be teams who will be picking this up, and Flick has to come up with answers.
yeah.
Today he couldn't. In Osasuna he couldn't. Next game we'll possibly learn from whether we and so on. And
Yeah.
to another point, I think somebody talked about our squad. Hold on.
I love the name Leon Kennedy. Leon Kennedy, is that a reference to Resident Evil? I think it is. If Leon Kennedy is still watching us, please tell me, is that a reference to Resident Evil? If it is, hats off, dude. I love Resident Evil. Anyway, yeah. Go on
All
then.
right, so there is, I think our squad is great. From the city of Ferran, FTJ, Gavi, Araujo, Christensen, you can expect a few drivers. Yeah, you cannot have a like for like, for sure. You're right, absolutely. And more or less, our squad is okay. But is it great? I don't know. Can this consistently push for silverware, season after season? I don't think so. We're not there yet. Like, we have some really great players and really young players who are very good, but I don't think they have the miles in their legs. I don't think they're battle hardened and battle weary to take that on from that perspective. So I think a little bit of balancing is still required. I think a couple of more difference makers are still required. We are heavily dependent on a couple of players, and it's working out, but it will just take a couple of injuries to completely derail us. And then we saw that, like, Lamine did not play today, and we were like a shadow of our own self. So squad's definitely good, can be better. We don't have the money, so can't really blame anybody. But hopefully, over time, they can build on this, and then we can get to a place where the squad is great.
Yeah, I think, as I said, there's a big drop off between starting material and subs. So I think, and that just the lack of depth, that just, it's a bad combo, right? So you don't have depth, but the depth that you do have is not always the solution that you need. So it's kind of it's a very tricky situation for Flick, by the way. So it wasn't easy for him to find solutions with Lamine, because she just doesn't have someone to replace him like for like. But then again, the solution that he did offer us was just not good enough anyway. So,
Okay, the guy on the left wants Flick to do poorly, so Xavi looks better too. Who's the left? Me the left or Dom Mario left? Depends on who sees the left from which angle. If I am the left, let me clarify. No, I don't want him to Flick to do poorly. Honestly, I don't really care. I want us to win every single game, and I wanted Xavi to build every single game. And I will. I have literally no energy to compare who's better. Honestly, guys, like, we've got better things to do. But if it's Dom, yeah, that's my answer. To GGG, whoever you are. So, let's keep going.
yeah. Oh no, here's Leon Kennedy. That's my actual name, he
Leon
says.
Kennedy
Oh,
says that's his actual name. That's a great name, Leon.
that's
That's
a
awesome.
please
Phenomenal.
Google Leon Kennedy just now. If you don't know who Leon Kennedy is, Leon. It's not with a Y, it's LEON Kennedy. So Google him and let me know when you do, because I genuinely thought that was a reference to Resident Evil. But anyway, back to football. Can't wait to
Yes,
face
can't wait to face
Aspas.
Aspas. I cannot wait too, because whenever he plays us, he comes and scores 3 goals against us. So Celta after the break will be very, very difficult. And that's another team who can run their socks off, who can press you, and they're playing good football, and a really good football with some great players this season. So it won't be easy for Flick, and perfect time. 2 weeks of the that they have now to recover and feel better and go back to the board and do strategizing. But Celta will be very, very difficult, and Barry Aspas will be there to score a couple of goals against us. So yeah, looking forward to that for sure.
Oh my goodness, he just never stops against
He
us. I
never
mean,
stops.
to be fair to Barry himself, he's a great player, right? And he doesn't just do this against Barca, but against Barca, he just hits different levels all the time. Now the thing with the international break is so far Flick has been very, very good at coming back and improving the team somehow, doing something to switch their minds off of the defeat and get them back into winning mode. So hopefully this international break, it's another one, by the way. How many are there? It just never stops. But hopefully this time it will be no different. We come back and we get back into gear immediately. That's what I'm looking at.
No,
For
it's
Flick.
been a tough. Like, come on, like those 6 games were hard,
Yeah,
really hard. We
yeah,
we
yeah.
had a tough,
Mm,
tough,
mm.
and I would take this. I would take this with one loss from La Real, given what was at stake. So
Yeah.
hopefully they need some rest. Hopefully they'll get some rest. Hopefully they will feel that energy, and when they come back, they will keep this aside and will go for the win, and it'll fall in place. But yeah, Barry Aspas and Celta won't be easy at Balados, never is, and so
Mm.
that will be. And yeah, I have spent a whole month without Zone 14. That's because of you guys. You keep telling me that I talk about it, so I've been consciously trying not to say that.
Wait. You mentioned it today. You mentioned it today. I heard it
I
when you talking
did
about.
mention it today.
Yeah,
I
yeah. Wait.
absolutely did mention it today. So no, no Barca fans, I did mention it today a couple of times.
Yeah.
That's good.
There you
All
go.
right. Let's see. There's a nice question around. I think it should be a blessing to learn it. Just the important thing is that Flick now knows that Bundesliga and La Liga tactically are at different levels. Well, yes, but I think Flick knew that. I don't think that's a sextuple winning coach. So I think he knows, he understands the technical difference and all of that. It's just his way of playing. That's how he likes to play, and he doesn't have all the players that he wants. So when things don't go right for him, he doesn't have the subs or the recovery army to come in and fix things for him, which he had at Bayern. He doesn't have that at Barca. That's the truth. And
Mm.
just was better prepared today. Does it have to like levels of Bundesliga and La Liga? Well, I don't know, man. Like both leagues are pretty good. I think obviously La Liga is much more technical, Bundesliga a lot more, transition oriented, fast, physical, and what have you. But both have their merits and demerits. Tom?
Mm. Yes, I agree. But I also think that teams are, as you said, they're looking at Barca. They're going, okay, this can be somehow broken. The offside traps can be broken. The high line can be broken, and that's what we published a piece. Was it what was it this week actually? Yeah, we published a piece on the high line and how sustainable it actually is. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that you have to get right for this to keep working. It can keep working because we've seen it work like 100 times this season. So it is something that is sustainable, but there are some things that you just have to take care of for it to be sustainable in the first place. And the key for that is always going to be repeatability. What can we do consistently, game in, game out, to make this work? So that's the key. So go to our blog, guys, and read the piece. The piece will tell you more about that. However, today we saw again the second run from the deep that absolutely smashes the offside trap, right? So that's what Flick needs to be looking at. How do I tweak our defensive structure so that these second runs from the deep are not so effective? So that's, for me, that would be the number one thing for Flick to tweak or to adjust or to improve so that we can keep doing what we are doing. Because otherwise, teams will just look at Crvena Zvezda. They will look at now at this game and they will go, okay, this is what we need to do. Oh, that's how we beat them. And they will keep doing that. So I think Flick will have to keep evolving. He has to evolve. Otherwise, this team won't be able to sustain this incredible run because if teams evolve, then we have to evolve as well.
Yeah, and then I think everybody learns from everything. I don't know how many guys watch the Milan game versus Madrid in the Champions League. If you haven't, go and watch that game and see Milan's high line, and see most of the time where did Milan play the game. Right? I'll be surprised at the high line they maintained throughout the game. It was like, okay, that's like Barca. right? They literally were, they played in that vertical little strip in the middle of the field most of the time. So teams are always watching, teams are always evolving. And we knew for a fact that, we won't get away with 100 offsides in a season. So coaches are going to catch up, and they are. Now, can Flick find a way of, playing with the distance of the line? That's the main question. And I think you should read what Dom has written. And the analysis clearly shows that, sometimes it's at 30 meters, sometimes at 40, sometimes it's at 45, sometimes at 27. So he does adjust it. But how does he adjust? How many times does he adjust? When does he adjust? Who are the players? And what does he do when there is a ball behind the black? To somebody's point, he was saying that, Iñaki Peña doesn't have the distribution, and he doesn't. And that's a problem for the way Flick wants to play. Because when you are playing for him, you need a keeper who can play those passes. And Iñaki Peña is just not that player. But that is what we are stuck with right now. I still don't think Chesney is coming in for any time soon. And he's not a good player of the ball from that perspective. So, yeah, those things will be there, guys, but it's just one of those things. We will talk about the Nike deal. Great, it's great that it is finally done. But and we will come up with some more details on that on our blog and so on and so forth. But what is clear is that it will still not take us to 1:1. So we will not be able to, fund or buy the players that we want. We'll still have to wait for that to happen. But definitely good piece of news with, for 14 years and about 1.7 billion that we are getting. It takes care of the long-term debt that we have, which is great. And hopefully, once we get into the 1:1, it will help us, have a better team.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. And if the club was pushing so much to get this deal over the line, then they must believe that this is something good for Barcelona. Of course, it's not always as black or white. There's a lot more detail, a lot more to unpack from that. And I always say this: I'm not really well versed in finances and everything business related. That's what I leave to Dev. But on the face of it, if Laporta is pushing for this and he's been trying to get the best deal possible, we just have to believe that this was the best deal possible that we could make in this moment. Hopefully, at least. I don't know.
Okay, this is the last one that we'll take before we wrap up. I always say Koundé is poor on the ball, both touches and passes. You guys didn't really agree with me. I hope you guys see how he played when the opposition team pressed properly. Well, you see, when you are in a position, you remember Busquets in the last few years, like between 2017, 2018, 2019, when he would get dispossessed regularly and we would be like, Zenda, let him go, right? We were all saying the same thing. And that was one of the best DMs in the whole world, right? The point is, if your system does not support you, you can be the best player. And if you're pressed, you will lose the ball. And today, Koundé was just not in a position. He needs that support to be him. That's one. And that wasn't there today. Now, is he the best dribbler in the world? No, he isn't, but that's not his job. He's a defender. And he defends pretty well, I would say. But what he brings into the offensive side of game, to bring that, he needs that support, which wasn't there today at all. Neither in midfield nor with Lamine missing, because Pedri wasn't in his usual position. So all the positions got changed. Fermin went into right flank, and he just couldn't do what he wanted to do. But I'll let Dom take this one. He can add more tactical color to it.
I think Koundé is good on the ball, but he's good on the ball from certain situations, with more time, more space, more inverted, more deep. So that's where Koundé is best. Tonight, with no Lamine on that flank, he was forced to carry that flank much more by himself. He was forced to dribble. He was forced to attack space. He was forced to distribute the ball from tight situations and very wide and high situations. So basically what he had to do was run all the way to the byline, all the way up, and then cross the ball with a man on top of him most of the time. Koundé will not give you results from those situations. He will not. What he can do is if you give him space on that flank, he can position himself properly, lift his head, open his body, then he can pinpoint passes. Absolutely can. He is a deep distributor. He can be a wide and high distributor, but then he needs far more space and time to deploy his passes. And that's kind of the gist of it. There's not much more to that. He is good on the ball, but he's not someone who can carry the whole flank by himself. And that's why you would still want to have Rafinha in front of him. If you don't have Lamine, you have to have Rafinha there. or someone who can actually be a winger ahead of Kunde. You can't let Kunde handle the whole flank. He just doesn't have the profile to do that.
Yep. So that's
Yeah,
it, guys. Second loss of the season. Tough one to take. Could have been a 1-1, but it wasn't, and we didn't really deserve to win this. To be entirely honest, they deserved that win today. They played really well. They played much better
they
than
did.
us.
They
They
did.
really played us off the park. So all credit to them and all credit to Real Sociedad. They played a fantastic game, and they deserve this win. For Barca, I think it's not so bad. It's okay. We obviously want to win, but we didn't, and that's fine as long as we can come back from this. Now, obviously, there's international break, so hopefully, our players will get a little bit of rest. Hopefully, Marcus Ado will not break something or whatever. Hopefully, he stays safe and secure because we need him for the season. And then once we come back, we will be live from Balaidos. And till then, take care. Peace, Barca.